Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Metro Cable announcement. The open session meetings is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14. Replay on Saturday, January 11th, 2014 at 1 p.m. And Monday, January 13th, 2014 at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district's website at metrofire.ca.gov. Public opportunity for discussion of matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda, are provided. And I have 3 speakers cards for this evening. Are there other individuals who wish to speak? If so, we have a form for them to fill out. Okay, seeing none other. Then, with that, let's go to public comment. And Ms. Baxter?
Good evening, board members, and not Kurt Henke, Chief.
Thank you. Mark Wells tonight, Deputy Chief of Administration, standing in for the Fire Chief.
Okay. I was here at the last board meeting and brought up the issue on the self-inspection program, asking what plan was being developed to return the monies to the people who did pay. Chief Henke stopped me and said that he would, there wasn't a plan right then, but he would get back to me the following Monday. So it's a month later, and no one from the department has contacted me regarding that issue that I brought up. So I'm back tonight to continue to discuss this issue. I did some research to try to understand what the proper policy was regarding public notification when there was going to be a new assessment or a new tax. And it's very clear in the California Government Code that it specifies that this public notification will be given 45 days before the public hearing in a manner most likely to be seen by the public and the stakeholders that it involves. It was also really clear when I reviewed this code regarding that there are definite things that must be in this notification. A lot of things, and one of them is there needs to be a name, a contact person, an address, or a department where people can go to ask further questions. This kind of a notification was not done before the board passed that ordinance in July 2012. So if this wasn't followed in the manner described in the California Government Code, then I think that the fees that were collected from the small businesses, the minority who did comply under pressure, needs to be returned. And I don't think it's okay for the chief to say, oops, we weren't transparent, which is what he told me personally, or oops, we didn't do a good job with that, but we'll do better next time. I think if this wasn't done properly and a mistake was made, it needs to be rectified. And that the money, if they were collected in an illegal fashion, need to be returned to the small businesses that did pay. And I know that at our last meeting, council advised the board.
If I could interrupt for just a second. We do have a 3-minute time limit. The 3 minutes are up, but what I'd like to do is offer you an additional 2 minutes, if that will work for you.
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Okay.
You
Then-
know, it's just that I'm back here tonight.
If we could reset the clock, please.
Okay. I'm back tonight because I didn't get the feedback I was told that I would get. I haven't gotten feedback from letters that I've written to the board, to the management of the fire department. So I'm really at a quandary. I don't have resources to get a lawyer to read the code and make sure I'm reading it right. But I think I'm asking the board to look at that and to make sure that tonight when you pass this ordinance, if you do, that indeed it really has conformed to the law and that it not be made a mistake again. Thanks.
Thank you.
Director Roselli, and just one last comment on that. I see Chief Holbrook's taking care of it. We're going to definitely get her contact information and make sure she gets follow-up questions answered from the administrative staff.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Elper.
Good evening. It's actually Epler, Melinda Epler.
Epler, excuse me.
That's okay. I'm here. I'm Executive Director of the Fulton Avenue Business District, which is on Fulton Avenue between Arden Way and Auburn Boulevard, right in the middle of Arden Arcade. Mr. Kelly, I believe you're our representative for that area, although it's not clear on your website how it is your divisions are allocated. So I'd like to make that point. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be at the last meeting. It would happen to be the evening of our holiday mixer, and I had to be there for that. But I understand we had some representation here. I'm here tonight representing 132 property owners and 360 businesses. Most of those businesses are small businesses. Yes, we have franchise car dealers, but we mostly have a conglomerate of small businesses, many of whom, in a word, are incensed by the change in the fee structure and the inspection process. And I would say not just because of the monetary change, but because they were not notified in advance that this was going to be happening and why. And I think that they're due that. I think that out of respect for the fees that they pay the county and Metro Fire, et cetera, and we have a fire station in our district, Station 101, and we have a great business relationship with that the fire station. They have done tremendous work for us. We have upgraded our water main on Fulton Avenue. The association paid $150,000 of private money to add 51 new fire hydrants 15 years ago so that our infrastructure would be in place if a fire was to occur. We have only had 2 fires in 15 years. One pretty significant one and one very small one. So I'm here to offer to hold a public meeting in the Arden Arcade area on Fulton Avenue would be best, to invite our business owners and any of you, the Chief Hinkie, any of you board members to come and discuss with these business owners and property owners what it is you're doing and why. And again, I think they're due that. You've been elected to do a job, and I think that public outreach is a very important part of that job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And third, Ms. Edwards.
I'm a runner. Hi, my name is Sally Edwards, and I own a small office building on Fulton Avenue, and I'm going to take my 3 minutes to share what happened to me so that you can understand what the fire department that I dearly love, how I believe I've been abused. So in August of last year, my home, and I live in a small home in River Park, burned down. And I drove my car up, and I saw the fire department, and I saw you guys up on the roof with your chainsaws putting out the fire to my home. And I'm sitting there crying, thanking the fire department for helping my house when it was being burned down. And then shortly thereafter, I own an office building on Fulton Avenue, and who walks through the door but 4 firemen saying, "I'm here to do an inspection." And I looked at them and I said, I've owned this building for 20 years. Nobody from the fire department in 20 years has ever walked through the door and said, I'm here to do an inspection. And I said, I love the fire department. I really want fire safety. It's huge for me. And they give me a piece of paper and say, these are the things you have to do. And I said, well, I can't pass that because I don't think anybody could pass these two pieces of paper with no warning that I have to do this, nor can any of my tenants. And I've maybe 8 tenants in my building. So they said, we'll come back, and I went to work on all of those things and spent a couple $1,000, and they came back, and I failed again, and they came back. They've come back 6 times. You all have come back 6 times in my small office building that's made out of concrete and sheetrock and isn't going to burn down very likely anyway. And then I start getting the harassment from a collection agency because I did not pay my fees. I knew. And part of the reason I didn't pay my fees is nobody told me there was a fee for this. Here I am, the owner of the building. The bank doesn't own it. I own it. It's taken me, I'm 66 years old. It's taken me my whole life to pay off my office building. It's my retirement. And all of a sudden there's a fee. And I said, you know, really, I'm a business person, and this looks like a scam. These aren't real collection people. They're really just trying to make some money off something that the fire department, the fire department's just public service. So we didn't know. We're owners of buildings that don't know what's going on, that walks the fire. And the fire people, the men and women who came in, all said, we don't really want to do this because this isn't our job. I think mostly you want to put out fires and do public service, which is wonderful. And now I'm in Philadelphia because I do a lot of business and I travel a lot, and I get the phone call, and I'm on a freeway, and I'm driving a rental car, and it's night out. It's a collection agency, and they said, you know, you owe us $225, and tell me when my 3 minutes is up, because this story can go on and on and on. And I said, I can't talk to you right now because I'm driving a rental car, it's raining, I'm in Philadelphia, and it's dark, and I don't know these freeways. And they said, if you hang up on me, you're the collection company, which I think might be some other company. I don't really know who they were. It kept accelerating, like, this is a scam, this is like weird. Why am I having these wonderful fire people try to make my building safe, which I really believe in, and then getting this bill, it makes no sense, and then never being told ahead of time. In business, if you're going to invoice somebody for something, a service or a product they do, you tell them ahead of time that that's the case. I was never informed. I knew nothing about a bill. So I then get a phone call after that from my partner, and she says, you know, I just got a call. I'm a school teacher. I got a call at school from a collection agency because her name on the revocable trust is on the deed of the property. And I said, how could a collection agency get your phone number and call you during school hours when you're trying to teach special ed to try to collect on a fire bill that I knew nothing about, and that when the fire people came, I tried to do everything on my little list. Then my tenants say, I got this bill, the next tenant I got this bill, the next tenant I got this bill. I said, don't pay any bills. I own the building. The bill should come to me, and I should know about what's going on. So the brand, which I think is really important, of the Sacramento County Fire Department, I think is severely damaged by an attempt to raise revenue without informing the people that are supposed to pay the revenue of what this is about. And it continues to look, not only damage you, but require small business owners like myself to take time out of our work to try to solve what appears to be
I hesitate to interrupt right now.
My time's up.
I know. Could we wrap this up in the next, say, 30 seconds or so?
Yes. So I feel I've been damaged. I think it's unfair. I think you should really do whatever you do in the world of the public businesses, have hearings and meetings and discussions and inform people, and not just try to levy some way to raise revenue out of small business owners and office building. I think it's totally unfair, and I've been mistreated, and so is everybody else, and there's a big apology that's really due to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director Orzelli, and just to wrap up on that, one, thank you very much on behalf of the fire department for coming and addressing us this evening. I do know the fire chief, Kurt Henke, last meeting really did extend a very sincere apology on messaging or miscommunication that might have happened in advance of this back last summer. However, that being said, I really appreciate that, and I'm sorry for the loss of your home, and I do appreciate you coming out this evening to tell us your thoughts. Thank you.
No further speakers? Okay. And I do want to extend my personal appreciation for each of you taking the time to come out here. So moving into the consent agenda, we have 2 items on the consent agenda, the action summary of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Directors Monk,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Scheidegger,
Aye.
Gould,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones, and Orzali.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item 2, the expenditures self-insurance assessment fee. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
That's part of the consent calendar.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. Okay. So we have a presentation for that. Okay.
Presentations for the
All right.
audit.
Okay, so let's move on to the presentation on the fiscal year 2012-2013.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Good evening, Chief. I'm here, Rhonda McFarland, your Chief Financial Officer, to introduce our auditor, Ingrid Shipline, who you've heard from in the past. Her firm is called Richardson and Company, and she will be presenting the results of her audit. I will mention that a more comprehensive report was provided to the Finance Committee earlier this evening, and I may very well, at the end of her presentation, just want to make a few remarks from the Finance Division. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, okay. You're still the chair.
Should I just hit it and see? No, it's the other one.
So you can make a comment as the chair. Well, but that's public comment.
Good evening. I'd like to start by highlighting the various reports that we issued as a result of our audit, which I believe is in your package. And as Rhonda had mentioned, we went through this in more detail at the Finance Committee meeting. Some of these slides are going to look the same, but it's a little summarized, and I'm going to go a little quicker through those. We issued an opinion on the financial statements, also issued a required communications letter. We also issued a compliance report relative to the federal funding the district receives, and an appropriation limit report. Some of the observations as a result of the audit. Pleased to report that we issued a clean or unqualified opinion on the financial statements. Also, another piece of good news, which is first time for the agency, and that is that all the internal control issues that have been identified in previous audits have all been adequately addressed. That's a major accomplishment. There's also been a change in reporting on some of the pages of the financial statements, pages 17 and 20 in particular. There's been a change in reporting. The district's now reporting the 3 separate funds, general, grant, and capital facilities funds, similar to your monthly reporting. Also, something new this year, in June of 2012, the district entered into an agreement to establish a trust for the OPEB and then contributed $2 million during the year to that trust. Also, the financial statements reflect a $1.1 million liability as a result of the refunds for the overcollection of supplemental taxes relative to Slough House and Rancho Marietta, which was addressed, I believe, at the December board meeting. Some of the financial highlights, we went over this in more detail in the executive committee, but just some of the highlights of some of the changes that you'll see in the financial information. Property tax revenues decreased $2.8 million. However, the good news is that was more than made up with the charges for services, which increased $7 million. And that's due to the change in the structure for ambulance billings, as well as increase in inspection and plan review fees. The financial statements also reflect the GEMT, which is the Medi-Cal Ground Emergency Medical Transportation Services grant of $3.7 million. Financial statements also show that salaries and benefits decreased by $6.9 million, primarily as a result of recent employee concessions. Those are described more fully on page 9 in the management discussion and analysis. Also, another piece of good news is that the revenues exceeded your expenses by $2.6 million, which is really the first time in the past 4 years anyway, since you were required to accrue for an OPEB, you've been experiencing losses, significant losses of $14 to $16 million a year. And so now you have a net income for the first time, another first. Significant adjustments. Pleased to report the district reported or completed all the closing entries prior to the start of the audit. So we only had minimal audit adjustments, which is a significant accomplishment considering where you've been in the past and the volume of activity that the district has. So overall, we concluded that the accounting records were very clean. Internal controls. Last year's letter had 4 carryover items related to internal controls. That started from a list of probably over 20 items a couple of years ago in the audit report. But management has been addressing those internal control issues over the past couple of years. And so those last 4 items from last year's letter have all been addressed. So we have no new comments, and we concluded that the district has a good system of internal control. Again, another significant accomplishment for the district. Our audit also included compliance with federal grant requirements. The district received $10.8 million of grant funding during the year, and we concluded that the district is in compliance with the federal requirements governing those grants. Another clean report for grant compliance. And new pronouncements, I brought this up last year. It's related to the requirement to record a liability for unfunded pension obligations. It's right around the corner. At this point, as of your latest actuarial report, you have about $185 million of unfunded pension obligations, and that doesn't include the non-safety portion of it. As a result of the district now requiring employees to contribute 12% toward the retirement will help reduce the cost to the district and ultimately reduce that liability. But that liability will need to be recorded on the books technically starting July 1 of 2014, which is right around the corner. So that will have a significant impact on the financial, or at least the equity basically of the district. Right now you have about a $45 million negative unrestricted equity. This would just increase that negative amount as a result of the implementation. So that's right around the corner in the financial statements in a couple of years. With that, I'll open it up to any questions, comments.
Director Scheidegger.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just note that I believe this is the second time in recent history that we've had a clean audit finding. I think it's something that the citizens of this community should feel very proud of. I think it's something that we really need to commend our staff, our fiscal staff, and our entire staff for the fine work they're doing in cleaning up our financial operations. I'm particularly proud of, Ron, I forgot, I think the initial list of our elements in the internal control were how many? 30? A couple of years ago, and we got it down to 16 in the last year, I think, that we focused on, and each of those are critical to the integrity of our financial ongoing monitoring, and we've cleaned all these up. These are all in place. They're going to continue to assure that we monitor our financial operation with integrity.
I think this is a great example of the work between our financial staff and auditing as it should function in government. And I appreciate your work, Ingrid, and I really appreciate the work of our department staff in making this a very successful audit report. Thank you.
Okay.
Other comments? Questions? Thank you very much. Moving into the action items. Item 1, Chief Daniels with the Fire Inspection Program and fees.
Let me get rid of this. Let's see. All right, I'm ready. Good evening, Board of Directors, Chief Wells, and members of the public. I'm Assistant Chief Bill Daniels, Fire Marshal with Metro Fire. I'm here tonight for you to consider the modification of our fees, our inspection program, and our fee schedule. I want to update you on our community outreach and education, and at the end I have a short video of what we're doing as far as starting a collaborative relationship with our business community. Before I start, I'd ask John Lava, our counsel, to review our legal process for scheduling or for fee schedule amendment, including conducting a public hearing.
Yes, this was spoken to at the last meeting. What this is the second reading of the proposed ordinance. At the last meeting in December, the board approved the first reading, made public the ordinance that was to be voted upon, which would amend the fee schedule that was previously in existence. What would be happening tonight what is happening tonight is that the board would be voting on whether or not to eliminate the small business inspection program, as Chief Daniels will describe, and to amend the fee schedule ordinance and adopt a new ordinance, which is in the public record and is in tonight's agenda at pages 118 through 132, to amend that fee schedule based upon the language which is set forth in that agenda, in that ordinance, that proposed ordinance.
All right, thank you, Council. I'm going to start out with, I'm going to kind of update, I will update you on our community outreach. This slide basically goes through and gives you a highlight of what we've done, but I actually want to go through a little bit more comprehensive list. We've actually sent out 4,200 emails to our businesses. We've updated them on an introduction letter of what our program entails, our business fact sheet, which includes our fees, proposed fees, and a how to prepare for a fire inspection. We've updated and made presentations to a number of chambers and our cities, including the Rio Linda Chamber of Commerce, Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce, Rancho Cordova Chamber of Commerce, Carmichael Chamber of Commerce, Orangeville Chamber of Commerce, Fair Oaks Chamber of Commerce, Arden Chamber of Commerce, our Black Chamber of Commerce, Asian Chamber of Commerce, there we go, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, City of Citrus Heights. I was at the December 12th and made a presentation to them, to the City Council, City of Rancho Cordova, Citrus Heights Government Affairs Committee, Sunrise Marketplace, which they sent out correspondence. In fact, all the chambers and business entities, we've asked them to send out information to all their businesses, including the Sunrise Marketplace. The Sacramento Dental Society, we attended a banquet and gave a presentation to them, to 400 members. McClellan Business Park, Sacramento Rental Housing Association. We're actually having our fire companies currently, and they've been doing so over the last 3 weeks to a month, actually going out and educating our business community. We've actually asking them, I'll cover this in a second, though actually our companies are assigned 50 inspections, what we call the Fire Company Inspection Program. Our companies are going out and actually interfacing with the businesses. They're doing a couple of things. One is they're making sure their inspection list is accurate. And number two, they're making sure that they pre-notify the businesses, one, what is going on. They have the ability to hand out basic information on how to prepare for inspection. We direct them to our website, on our fact sheet, on updating them on what our inspection program entails and what our inspection program is and what our proposed fees are. Director Azali actually, I actually received from the fire chief, and I think it's a great idea, and it's to continue to do outreach to our community. I agree, it's very tough to reach our business community, very tough. And one of the things, I actually met with the chief and I, with Tim Cahill, he was a speaker last week, or on December 12th, he's here tonight. I actually had lunch with Susan Baxter today. We had a great discussion, but our outreach will continue with our business community. It has to be ongoing and sustainable over time. I will continue to meet with the chambers, and I invite anybody that came up to speak tonight. If they want to contact me, all they have to do is call my cell phone. My cell phone's on every piece of information that I send out, and they can directly call me and ask me anything about a business inspection or fees, and I'll be more than glad to meet with anybody regarding our program. And we will need to always update that. We updated it this time. We're going to be in the process of doing inspections, kicking off. It gets approved tonight. We'll start our inspection programs for our inspectors assigned to our division next Monday. We'll end that process at our end of fiscal year, June 30th. During that time frame, we're going to continue updating and keeping you posted and come back with modifications if we need to make modifications, which I'm sure we will. We'll identify areas where we have holes in the system, and we'll keep making it better and better every year. In addition to that, I'll meet with our chambers to make sure that we update them so they can notify their business community. So, internal education, I have a wonderful staff. I've assigned Kim Angelo, she's an inspector, and she has really grabbed a hold of the inspection program. One of the things that we really needed to do was educate our firefighters. They haven't done inspections for about 10 years. I mean, obviously they did it last year, but we needed to make sure we updated our system from paper to electronic, which is a real huge thing, so we can collect data and get information easier. We've also gone through to make sure they're well trained on how to do that inspection. When our firefighters actually go out now, they have the ability, you saw the video last week, or on December 12th, they have the ability to actually go in and show that video ahead of time. They can actually email a video to them as long as they get their email, and they have handouts that are available to them on the common fire hazards, electrical cords, exiting, extinguishers, and they can email it, and they also have the ability to do a hard copy to our business community. The whole idea is that we want to educate the businesses. We're here to provide that collaborative relationship. We know we damaged that with the program that was put out this last year, and we're here to extend an olive branch and to move forward to make things better and to educate our community and fire safe practices. And I think we've definitely taken a step in the right direction with that piece of it. A little bit more about well, I think I pretty much covered everything on that. External partnerships. We met with the Rental Housing Association, just like a number of groups. They had concerns about our inspection program. I went in and gave a presentation to them. They were ecstatic that, one, we came, and number two, that we admitted that we had some fault with what happened with our self-inspection program. We established a collaborative working group with them. They have approximately 1,300 we have 1,300 apartments in this Sacramento metro area. And so we wanted to make sure that we identified those issues with that group, and the video that you see tonight was set up just for the Rental Housing Association. We probably won't put it online, but it's for them to educate our Rental Housing Association members, their members, and they're going to send it out to them, and we have established that collaborative relationship when they put on a class, which they want to do a certification class for all the property managers in Sacramento. then we are going to be part of that team coming in and teaching them on fire safe practices. That is a part of the process where I want to set up with our businesses to be able to do that. Director Azali, I mentioned your name with the Business Roundtable. Part of that Business Roundtable would be, in addition to going out and talking with the people, establishing a forum online, essentially, where we have a roundtable where we can look at that and get feedback from our business community. It's just another link to the community to be able to do that. So I think that'll be a real good thing for us. With that, let me escape out of this. I'm going to show you a quick video. Again, this is designed for the Rental Housing Association for them to publish. Let me actually, I can't talk and do this at the same time. Anyways, this is a collaborative effort with our Rental Housing Association. They wanted to know and send out to their property managers and their members of why are we out there? And they want to, this is what they asked for. They want to know how did these codes come up? How did they get developed? Okay, so remember, this is for them. Maybe.
Hi, my name is Gordon Inman, Captain, Metro Fire. We're here today to talk about exiting. What you're looking at is the Iroquois Theater fire. This fire occurred on December 30th, 1903 in Chicago. It is the deadliest fire in U.S. history. 602 people dead simply because they couldn't get out. People were stacked up at the exits like cordwood. This fire led to new safety standards regarding exit doors, exit signs, and panic hardware. Coconut Grove, November 28, 1942, Boston, Massachusetts. 492 people dead, 200 people injured. Again, people couldn't get out. The stairwell was piled high with bodies right beside the door out. This fire also led to new regulations like outward swinging doors. After that fire, the number of exits had to reflect the size of the occupancy, as well as battery-operated exit signs. The Station Nightclub, Rhode Island, February 20th, 2003. 100 people died, with another 320 people injured. This fire led to new regulations for fire sprinklers, concerns about occupant loads, and most importantly, the grandfather clause was eliminated. When we at Metro Fire began this project, we asked several business owners what information they wanted. Far and away, the question we heard the most was, where did the fire code come from? They are born of tragedy. Every fire code is an epitaph. Our goal is to increase understanding for everyone, for the business community as well as the fire service, to better protect or better yet prevent the next tragedy from being yours or ours.
All right. With that, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
I have a comment before Director Wood. I just wanted to make a reference. What the chief was talking about was a proposal that I made for a e-business roundtable, and this would be a means by which we could communicate directly to those members of the business community and get feedback from them about specific issues relevant to the fire service. And I would encourage everyone who hears this to look for the opportunity to join that. If you're a business owner or business person in the community, join the e-business roundtable so that you can have that opportunity and share your ideas with us. So thank you for that. Director Wood?
Chief, I understand that you weren't here when in this role, at least when the original ordinance was adopted. And it looks like you and your staff have done a very extensive job this time around reaching out and involving the business community. Are you able to explain the differences between what you've done now versus what happened with the original ordinance?
Yeah, I think what happened was intuitively, we sent out business letters. And I believe there were some contacts with our city and some presentations to our city, and that was the extent of the outreach. As I mentioned, it's very difficult to do business outreach. I actually thought it would be much easier. And I would think that each chamber would have a better connection to their business community, but that's actually not the case. There's many businesses that are independently out there. Going back to the business letter, we know that wasn't that effective because it was sent out last time, and that's the first thing we heard about. Hey, we did not do a good enough outreach. So the difference is, one is you heard the list, you heard about the emails, we're putting stuff online, but the other thing is important, we're doing the outreach and we're continuing the outreach. That's the big difference. You know, we're going to continue circling back around to our chambers. We offer the information to go out to our businesses to meet, which I'm sure I'll get some calls tomorrow, and I will go out and meet. You know, I will take the time to go out and actually do that because it's good to get feedback. Okay? And then the next time we roll out a program where we go through and we do an annual review on this, and we're only 6 months away from it. So once we do that annual review, we're going to come back and say, okay, here is what the issues were, here's what went good, here's what went bad. So that's the main difference, is that sustainability on that outreach. And it's every month, sending staff out. It's time consuming, but we have to establish that collaborative relationship and get the public's trust back is where it comes down to.
Appreciate that.
Other questions? Director Kelly?
Yes. Chief Daniels, thank you for your report. I was wondering if possibly council could verify that in the previous effort that all requirements of the statute were met. We did have 2 hearings on it. We took the necessary efforts to make sure that the issue was legal for this board to go ahead and enact that fee.
Yes, Director Kelly, I don't have that material with me from the last time the board considered that matter, but I will do that and report back.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Go ahead. Council Labra, can we follow up with that? There was a concern raised this evening in public comment that we're currently not following code of regulation requiring, the hearings be opened and we're following that process. Can you verify for the board this evening that tonight's second reading and all subsequent elements up to this new program have followed the code of regulation? So if we take action tonight, we're not violating any code of regulation.
Yes, I've looked at that previous to the last board meeting, and I can verify that. I will double check into it though because of the concerns raised just for my own doing, but I can verify that it's legal and appropriate going forward tonight.
Thank you.
Director Shadiger.
Chief Daniels, I'm impressed by what's been done by Metro. I'm impressed by the revisions to the program and to your outreach, the litany of meetings that you've had, et cetera. But I want to address each of the three speakers tonight. Mrs. Baxter came and said that she still seeks answers. What I hear you saying now, I want to make sure that we're going to meet that Mrs. Baxter will get contacted and will get answers to her questions soon. Is that fair?
That's fair, and that's correct.
Ms. Zeppler wants public meetings, I believe, in her Fulton Avenue business. I'm not sure I have that correct, but are those public meetings consistent with your outreach program? Is that something that you think we can do?
Yes, I do, and that's, I will leave that contact information, so I don't want you to leave tonight. If you don't mind, I want to make sure we exchange information so we can set up those collaborative meetings.
Okay. And Mrs. Edwards similarly wants public opportunity, I guess, for additional input or expression or meetings, dialogue, if you will, on the development of the program. Again, what I heard you say, Chief, is that you are available, you and your staff are available for that kind of dialogue, and hopefully we can reach an amicable solution with those concerned citizens and their representation in terms of the community concerns. Is that accurate? Is that fair? Can we address those concerns, you think?
Yep, I'll make sure we meet with we hold the public meetings and we go through and we talk with them, and we'll do just what you said, meet with each of them and address their issues.
Thank you very much. I think you've done an admirable job in terms of your outreach and what you've done already in a relatively short period of time. But obviously we've missed some, and as you say, you're going to continue this outreach program. And I think that's what we want to do, to make sure that we're reaching the community. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Other,
Chairman, if I could have one more opportunity.
Director Monk.
By all means, once everybody's complete.
I wanted to add my comments, Chief. You were thrown into a very difficult position when you accepted the fire marshal position. A lot of things occurred before you ever got there, and trying to play catch-up is, in a lot of ways, not fair to you. I applaud all the efforts that you're trying to do to correct it. From the beginning of the modifications to the community risk reduction program, I had concerns, and it can be verified by going back and watching the videos, that I did not feel that we have had sufficient public input into the changes, and I strongly support a public hearing. The question I've got is, have you looked into, I believe Ms. Baxter pointed out that the actions are not consistent with the government code. Have you looked into the government code to see if there are requirements that we have to follow?
Yes, I actually went through with our board clerk and touched bases with our legal counsel and reviewed that with staff. In fact, as an example, I told the staff that I want to make sure that notification, I think you asked that at last meeting when I saw the video.
Yeah.
We have requirements to notify twice. There's a 10 days span between them, I believe, and you have to provide ample notice to the community prior to. Well, we just didn't do 2 times. We made sure we did it 3 times for publication. So just erring on the side of caution. So we also needed to do 2 readings. So we made sure, and usually we would be spread out over a couple weeks, but because of the holiday, we actually spread out over the month, which gave us more time to get in, engage, and do public outreach, again, which is going to continue. So yes, we did look into it, and it met everything under the government code.
What section?
I believe I can't remember off the top of my head. It's under the Health and Safety Code, but I don't remember the number.
Health and Safety or Government Code? Because they're different.
Well, Health and Safety Code, and it's also listed under the California Fire Code. But it's listed generally under the Health and Safety Code.
Okay, because what I heard from Ms. Baxter was we're not consistent with the Government Code. And my question was, are we looking in to make sure that we are consistent with the requirements under the Government Code? And specifically, last meeting, I asked about the public notice requirements because I have looked into the government code and I have my own concerns.
Are you talking about for tonight's ordinance?
No,
Or are we talking about the previous?
Well, previous too. Proper notification for the public of changes or new assessments or new fees being done under 54954.6 of the government code.
Right, I will go back and look for the previous ordinance and report back to the board.
Okay. I respect what you're saying, Chief, is under normal circumstances, we have requirements for posting, for meetings, for changes and like that. If the government code has specific requirements for new assessments or new fees or changes that we're doing or whatever, we should be following the law in that area. And that's why I'm saying I don't want us to be in a position to where we are not following the law. So if we could please research that. And
I will, Director Monken, report back.
thank you.
Further questions?
First, to the chief, with the outreach, have we included in that our third-party collection agency, or who's going to do the collecting? Because I've heard from numerous people that they thought it was a scam. They thought that this was, the fire department. With that, there could be an opportunity now for some scam artists to realize that we're doing this and kind of jump in there. Has that been part of the outreach? This is who the contact is. This is who will be contacting you if the need arises to collect a fee?
Yeah, we actually had Fire Recovery USA. We transitioned away from them to our current biller, which is our ambulance biller. We have provided them with a frequently asked questions document so they know. Also, a version of that is going to be put online for frequently asked questions that people have regarding our fees and our inspection program. So we've educated them on that piece of it just to make sure things go smooth, because they do. People get information or they have questions that, from the bill that comes in. The other thing we did was that we made sure that we looked at our billing that goes out to put our logo on it and to make sure we put on the header of it, it's clearly from Sacramento Metro Fire District, what the purpose of the bill is, and it's for an inspection.
Okay.
So that was cleaned up. And it wasn't clear. I agree. It was not as clear as what it should have been.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is, I guess with Director Monk directly. I understand you're asking, I need some clarification from you before I vote on this. Are you asking if we've complied with the law, or are you challenging our attorney stating, because I just heard him say we are complying with the law, and I heard you say we're not. So before I vote, it's easy to ask a question and throw it out there as a question, or is that an accusation stating that our attorney is wrong? Because if that's the case, then I think we need to have some debate here on our attorney's abilities to interpret the law, one. Two, who are we going to go with? Because I am not going to cast a vote that is against the law. I believe in our attorney. The last time I voted on this, obviously the plan was not a good plan, but I felt very confident that our staff had noticed the right way. We had followed the law. I understand that the business community was not happy with the last rollout, so we've taken steps to correct that. And again, if we're making an accusation that we're doing something against the law, I think we need to debate that as a board and not vote on this. But I myself, just me speaking for the rest of the board, I have confidence in our attorney, and if he's told me that he checked this out and it's good, then I'm good with it. But if he has reservations about that or doesn't think his opinion is good and wants further clarification, then I'm prepared to hold off on that, because if you're stating that you know for a fact it's wrong, then state it. Or if you're asking his opinion and he gives it to you, then accept it. That's the last I have.
Yeah, in response to that, Director, what I'm saying is the plain reading of the government code 54954.6A1, and I could read it to you,
But my concern is, if I'm right and it was not followed, the public notice was not proper, the content of the public notice was not proper, Section 54956.6 applies that says no fees may be charged by the legislative body of a local agency for carrying out any provision of this chapter except as specifically authorized by the chapter. So I don't want this board to be in a position to approve something that is not consistent with the law and us have to turn around and refund money, or going further, voting on that if potentially under 54966, I believe. Hang on here a second.
Excuse me, Director Monk, or is that a reference under California Government Code, or is that a reference under Health and Safety Code, or is that a reference under Uniform Fire Code?
California Government Code.
Thank you.
Anyway, 54966, I believe, says that if it's inappropriate and we vote on it, we could be guilty of a misdemeanor.
Well, that goes, excuse me, Ms. President, that goes back to my original question. You're saying if it is wrong. I agree with you completely. That's what my whole point is. If we were wrong, and I will admit I was wrong, and I will take responsibility for being wrong. But you're asking if we're wrong. I'm looking at my attorney. Are we wrong? Can we vote on this tonight?
I reviewed this issue probably back in October, November. I don't have that material in front of me. My recollection is when I reviewed it, it was good or otherwise inappropriate. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had it come up when I looked at the agenda and approved it. But with what's being said here, I feel like, and I'm not in a position, I don't have the government code here in front of me, and all of that. If the board wants a specific advice or clarification on that, I'd like the opportunity to go back, look at my file, and ensure, just because of the things that are being said.
Chief Wells, what are the implications of us not taking action on this evening?
In terms of from a fiscal impact or moving forward with programs? I'm going to defer that to Chief Daniels. I mean, tonight we have an inspection program going forward on what date, Chief?
Monday, next Monday.
And so the impact of us not taking action on this would be what?
Well, it would be delay of the inspectors initiating our hazardous occupancy inspections and annual inspections until you approve the proposal, and that'd be approximately 2 weeks, the next board meeting.
Well, perhaps. Council, since there seems to be a question about that, how long would it take you to review that?
I could review that issue probably within a week.
Okay, so
Mr. Chairman.
is there...
And I see Director Kelly hadn't had a chance yet. I'd like to make
If this is not approved tonight, you'll continue under the same ordinance that this one's replacing. Is that correct?
That's true, but the problem is we've actually halted our hazardous inspections and, again, our annual inspections, a lot of them, because we don't want to go out and charge. A lot of those fees for hazardous occupancies were higher than what we felt comfortable with, and we didn't want to stir the issue with our business community anymore.
So you've done a rollout with the new ordinance already. I understand that. So I guess my next question would be, I guess we almost have to look at this and determine with ourselves whether or not it's right to charge these fees. And then we would look at you and we would say, tell us where in the code does it say we're able to recoup these fees for services that we utilize to go out and inspect businesses. You're aware of whatever government code allows us to do that, or do we self-impose and say we can recover fees? I know it's given, that right's given to us somewhere in the code.
Right. Well, in your staff report was listed on the Health and Safety Code, Section 13916 provides the authority for the district to establish user fees using regulatory fees to recoup all or portion of the cost, providing a specific service to an individual or entity in response to that individual's request or regulated action.
So the question among us is whether or not we think it's proper that we recoup these fees under this. Certainly the district is responsible for providing fire safety to the businesses in our district, and I believe it's critical that we are inspecting those businesses. To hear a property owner didn't have any inspections for some 20 years as an owner of a building is very surprising to this director, at least. I would move on to say that I can't think that anything would prevent this board from tabling this issue. Table this issue until Mr. Monk's concerns can be met head-on and the answer can be given to you. I hate to put anybody in this side of the table in any poor position, but certainly you've raised some things that I don't think the rest of us can ignore, and you've made it very difficult for us to make a decision this evening. So I think in order to make sure that everybody is safe and that you are correct in your beliefs, and council can have his opportunity to determine that the board is in its right to go ahead and vote on this.
Yeah, Director Kelly, I'm not trying to stop the program or anything. The point is, I want to make sure that it's done right. And
I didn't say that
no,
you
I
weren't.
didn't say that.
You
I
don't
just
need
want
to
to make sure
explain
it's done
yourself to
right.
me. Okay.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Chief Daniels, this would push our program back 2 weeks at this point. And obviously time is tight and schedules are tight and there's only so many hours in a day between now and the end of the year. Do you think you can make up the 2 weeks by the end of the fiscal year?
Oh yeah, we'll make it work.
Okay.
Well, one other possibility, excuse me just a second, is, and where I was headed with the discussion about the implications of tabling this, and the question to council about how long it would take to review it. If this is of sufficient import, nothing prevents us from calling a special meeting.
That's true. Yep.
So,
Mr. Chair, can I offer another solution that potentially my colleagues can consider? Tonight we're talking about suspending the old program and implementing the new. And while Chief Daniels is being a nice guy and saying, oh sure, we can make up 2 weeks, that's pretty tough order, especially since we're behind already in some of this. And we put more of our men and women under additional work responsibilities. You got to remember, they're also doing other things like running 60 or 70,000 calls a year. It's not just that they are running fire inspections. And so 2 weeks is a big deal. It is really a big deal to actually get where we need to get by June 30th. And so I might propose to this group, if you fundamentally believe that this change is appropriate, take the legal argument out of it for right now. Approve it with the caveat that when we get from our legal counsel a written opinion, that it then at that moment implements. Because to wait 2 weeks, again, back to Chief Daniels, he's being nice, going, oh, sure, we can make everything work. But the reality is this is putting a great deal of burden on our operations staff that we don't need to do. The politicians should say, if it's good, let's go with it, with the caveat that the legal opinion, which seems to be the only issue that's in the way, is rendered by our counsel that we employ to tell us that. All of us can receive that correspondence by the attorney with the understanding that after it's adjudicated or an opinion has been rendered, it immediately implements. That would be my motion this evening, is that we go with that and we move forward. And if he can get it done in 3 days, now we've got it implemented in 3 days. If it takes a week, so be it. He's a pretty bright guy.
How about we ask, within this new light, okay, we're going to take a few seconds break. If we do, Mr. President, if we do choose to look for some alternatives here, and we'll rely on feedback in a moment from Council Lavra, I believe we could have an intent motion for passage of the staff recommendation as listed in our board packet. It's been duly published, and we can acknowledge we've had the second reading as well. And the intent motion would be to pass that with the concurrence of the, what would be the word, rendering of the second opinion or confirmation of the opinion by our counsel. Now, how does all this jargon line up with law school.
Well, I would just like to say, because of the concerns that are being raised, I want to ensure that the proper legal process has been followed so that you have a valid ordinance in place at the time you vote on it, whether it's tonight or some other time, number one. Number two, when I look at what has been presented by staff on these kinds of issues, I look at it, and I did in this case. I wasn't prepared to come in and compare this code section with that code section tonight. I wouldn't have allowed it to move forward on the last agenda had I not looked at it and thought that it met the legal requirements, which I think I looked at back in October-ish or something like that. So I would want to, my comfort level would be to just go back and within the next week provide you an opinion as to whether or not the process was legal. I mean, I think that's what we all want to ensure, and we want to make sure that the ordinance is properly in place when it's voted upon. So that's what I would want to do. I don't know that you can vote. You could vote on the ordinance and it becomes law and not implement it subject to having an legal opinion that the process, but that's not something that I have seen done before. That's usually, that's a little bit backwards. It's usually make sure the process is in place, then vote on it and let the law become effective as required.
So that
So
takes...
I would
back
rather...
to special meeting potential then, or waiting 2 weeks.
So...
I mean, we could have, I could have the opinion back in time to have it agendized for the next meeting.
Council, considering what Director Gould had suggested, your preference as a recommendation would be that the board not take action until your review?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And
Please.
in order for a bit of clarity and focus here, I would request, Director Monk, would you please state the codes and the numbers of which you are concerned about, so that I myself, I can't quite seem to get it to come up right here, but that way myself, my fellow directors, and legal counsel have the specific areas that are of concern.
Well, if I could interject, Director Monk and I had previously had a conversation about this issue and the interest in providing that information to the board and to legal counsel. Since rather than pursue this, I would make a motion that we table this on the recommendation of council.
Okay. Well, I'd say table fine, but in the meantime, I don't want to wait 2 weeks. I need to go home and use my own home computer.
Perhaps he could provide that. Director Monk, could you provide that information offline after the meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. President.
And just for additional point of clarification, the 54954.6 54.6 of the Government Code identifies the public notice requirement. And there's specific information listed in number 2 of that requires certain information to be in that public notice. This could be cleared up real easy. Show us the public notice that was presented when the changes were made originally. It may all be in there.
We actually have that. I actually handed it to Council Labra, and it includes the 3 dates. I don't remember the 3 posting dates, but they're listed on that on the information we provided.
It requires a 45-day posting and specific information to be listed in that, and followed by a separate public hearing, not a board meeting. Traditionally, and President Orzali, you know this from the school district, they traditionally have a board meeting, close the board meeting, and open up a separate public hearing to allow the public to come in and hear about, disagree with, agree with, whatever, but allowing the public in, which is what I said from the beginning. We need more public outreach. Well, come to find out, the Government Code requires it. Allow the public in to discuss, agree or disagree with this.
Just a point of clarification. Is that for this process tonight with these amendment of fees, or is this from a previous time back?
Well, you're going back and you're changing the original one that was approved, and although I don't know that it was followed then, you're changing that. You're changing the fees and putting in new fees in some cases, which is now a new assessment which falls under 54954.6.
Well, make a quick point.
Please.
I'm sorry, I have to step in because, and I'll shut up after this, but I take exception to that because what you just basically said is that our staff and we as a board allowed our staff to break the law, and we did not do things appropriately. And I'm offended by that. I wouldn't do that. I hold these people more accountable for that. You just had a man up there just say, we just told him that we're going to make his life harder, and his only response was, we'll do it. We've asked these guys to do more with less. For every minute I've been on this board, we've been taking from them. All they've done is said, okay, we'll do it. And they then come in here and say, you guys lied to us and you broke the law, and I'm smarter than that attorney. I find that offensive, and I don't agree with that. And if we had an issue, or if you had a concern with this, way back when, we can do it. If you want to change the way that the board handles the agenda, and you want to change how we take public comment, I'll be more than happy to look at that. I'm part of the policy committee. We're going to be looking at that, and I'll be happy to sit down with you and discuss that. But to me, it sounds like you're stating you're the only one that is watching out for the public, and the rest of us doughheads up here put one over on them, and I find that offensive to me and all of my other colleagues that sit up here, because we would not have allowed that. And I appreciate you bringing your concerns up. I do, because if I did do something wrong, I'll be eating it next meeting. I will. I'll stand up and apologize. I was an idiot. Director Monk was right. I was an idiot, and I trusted the staff. But as of right now, I find it offensive that you're saying that we broke the law and that you're the only one that's standing up for the public. Because I ran for this office to stand up for the public and represent the people that I serve, and I think I do that.
Yeah, this is not about me being right or wrong, Director. This is the reading of the government code and consistent with the rules that we're supposed to be following the law. And I'm asking for a clarification, and if a public hearing is required, have the public hearing, follow the rule, if that's what it says.
Well, rather than have us, is there any new information in this before we ask for a motion?
Actually, there is, if we start to read 54954.6, and it says that for the purpose of this section, the term new or increased assessment does not include any of the following. And the first thing listed is a fee that does not exceed the reasonable cost of providing the services, facilities, or regulatory activity for which the fee is charged. And I think we've had that in full with the report and all the work that our fire marshal and his staff have done. So my concern is that specific, there have been, well, I'm sorry, I hate to use the word, but it's accusations have been thrown out here, and it's like, okay, how much of this is not red herring to be a red herring, but some of these reading of these codes, perhaps we should have had a special meeting if indeed this was the concern, but to put it out now when we're under such a time crunch, it just doesn't seem fair to staff to bring this up at the last minute, because this is our second reading over, what, 6 weeks, December 12th, whenever our last meeting was. So that's an emotional part, and that I feel like, well, let's just go ahead and go through this section. But for me, reading the first exemption of it, it doesn't apply.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to withdraw my motion that's on the table at this point and present a new motion that as soon as we get an attorney's rendered opinion that we call for a special meeting, duly agendized, we make this process move on. We've already admitted significantly that the last time we did this was not appropriate and it was problematic. We've said that multiple times. It's now time to put that in the past and move forward and get fire inspections going again, because if we're not doing that, we might become the next news item And then we'll all look like idiots that we weren't doing fire inspections in hazardous areas that we really should be doing. And just as Murphy's Law would suggest, we wait 2 more weeks and that happens. So let's, as board members, let's consider the fact that once we get the attorney's opinion, that we take that on the faith that we should and we've done for years, and then we move forward, and that the president call a special meeting with one agenda item. We move this thing beyond, because staff have been dogging on this thing for months, both in the old administration of the fire marshal's program. That person is no longer in charge. You are. Let's move this thing off the table. We've got other issues that this district needs to address. That's my motion.
I would second Director Gold's motion.
Now, so I have a motion and a second. Does this require us tabling the existing motion?
No, he withdrew it.
I withdrew the one that was on the table.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that we postpone or table the current action item with the idea that once we get a rendered opinion, we call for a special meeting, vote on it, and move forward.
So with that,
I have a second.
please call a roll.
Directors Monk,
No.
Wood,
Aye.
Scheidegger,
Aye.
Gould,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Clark.
Otherwise,
Oh, he's,
Lizzie.
okay, absent. Okay, Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Rosali.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to action item 2, contract amendments, technology network design and interface for the California Exercise Simulation Center.
Well, this is where the meeting gets good. We talk about excellent things that are occurring in the district. You'll want to stay.
Director Larry Davis, Chief Development Officer.
Larry, it's not on.
Do I have to do, there, okay. Director Larry Davis, Chief Development Officer. The item before you is a request for approval to move forward with a contract amendment with Roblin Construction Services as construction manager at risk for the California Exercise Simulation Center. We received a grant to construct the facility, and we had moved forward with a construction manager at risk agreement for both this side, the boardroom, and the Exercise Simulation Center. That contract is still open and in effect. The tenant improvements for the Exercise Simulation Center have been completed, and we're now moving into the technology and the video walls and those types of things. And our architects are needing design services to put that together, and we are requesting permission to amend Roblin's contract for an additional $50,000. This is work that at the time Roblin was bidding this work wasn't considered in that bid, and is additional work, and they've agreed to amend their contract and allow us to do the work under that agreement.
Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, this, Roblin's the same one that worked on this side, right?
Yes.
And they came in early, right? They
Early,
completed-
yes.
And
Yes.
under budget, or at least at budget?
And I'm not an expert on that. Chief Cochran would probably be better.
That's fine.
I'm sorry. I mean,
He's not paying attention.
They did a great job.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that if there was another public agency out there that was concerned about PLAs and that kind of stuff, they ought to come look at this facility and see what was accomplished with that, using a company like that with, you know, the union labor and the training that they get. You get what you pay for, and I'm very proud of what we have here, and I would just offer that up to any other public agency that's looking to build a building. Come here and inspect this and see what was done here. Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Larry, in the original contract that was minus this $50,000, the scope of work that this $50,000 represents, who was going to do that?
It hadn't been identified yet.
Okay.
The architect, Abercrombie Planning and Design, he has a number of tasks to do, and one is to, study what needs to be done. And this is a, pretty unique facility, and the whole idea of multiple EOC interactions is a new thing. And so at that time, he had to develop the concepts, and then he now needs a designer to implement it.
Okay. All right. Director Scheidegger?
This 50,000 is also from grant money, isn't it?
Yes. It's already budgeted. I mean, it was always part of this. It's just we hadn't identified moving forward.
This element in it.
This piece of it.
I'll make a motion, we adopt staff's recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Scheidegger,
Aye.
Gould,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Rosali.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving then to item 3, health benefits investing requirements. Chief Wells?
Yes, good evening again, directors. This particular item is before the board tonight. If you'll remember back in March 24th of 2011, the board of directors passed the resolutions amending the Local 522, Local 150, and the ASP memorandums, as well as the non-safety and safety resolutions, specifically to address healthcare vesting. And at that time, the contracts were negotiated so that the contract vesting schedules would be changed for employees that were hired after December 1st of 2011. And they would have to, rather than the existing way it was, they would have to work here for a period of time. And at that time, it was a minimum of 5 years before they could start vesting for the healthcare benefits in retirement. When we actually went to go execute that contract concession, essentially at the state level with CalPERS, the state vesting schedule required us to be in a 10-year vesting period, which was not what we agreed to, and with our labor groups. And so we went under an active campaign to a bill AB 1346. It was actually a co-sponsored bill with Metro Fire, and that allowed us with California Professional Firefighters. And we were able at that point to change our vesting schedule to meet what we had agreed to in negotiations, so that we would be vesting at a minimum of 5-year vesting. And at that point, you would take up to 100% of our employer's cost of the program, which is 92%, 5% a year, and you would be vested at 5 years, and it'd take you 20 years to get to 100%. So this is just really just a cleanup to what we had done and promised from the beginning. A lot of help to our partner CPF and the labor in getting this through and changing the state legislation on this and changing to what we needed. So we're just looking for tonight the recommendation of the board to adopt this attached resolution.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to move the resolution establishing the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District's vesting contribution under Section 22896 of the Public Employees Medical and Hospital Care Act.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Directors Monk,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Scheidegger,
Aye.
Gould,
Aye.
Pearson,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Rosali.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes.
Moving then to the President's report. I'm thrilled at the opportunity to serve as the President of the Board, and particularly at a meeting that has this much activity. And with that, I'll conclude my report for this evening with one other comment. I noted during the budget and the audit report, there was a comment about the increase in revenue that had been realized as a result of the contributions or sacrifices made by the men and women of Sac Metro, and I'm grateful for that. It made a huge difference for us, and I have great respect for them. So, Chief's report.
Yes, the Fire Chief Kurt Hinkie tonight, I'm sure he's actually not happy that he's not here, in all sincerity. He's actually attending the California Metro Fire Chiefs. Of course, you know he's the president of that group, and they're meeting down in Southern California in Burbank. And so he'll be flying back this evening. Upcoming meetings and events, the chief will be holding the WebEx meetings that we do with all the staff this month. Save the date, January 11th, 2014, coming up, is the Pig Bowl Crab and Shrimp Feed at the Scottish Rite Center, and that starts at 6 p.m. That was January 11th. Did I say that right?
This Saturday.
Okay, this Saturday, January 11th. January 25th is the actual game, and I believe that is at Hornet Field there in Sacramento. Is that correct? Okay, doesn't have it on here.
Are you playing in that, Chief?
You know what? I am, I'm sure, but I probably won't be able to make it.
See how he takes his
I'm sure that the law enforcement group would probably love for that to happen for several reasons. We're going to offer up Chief Cockrum, though. Fill the Boot is actually one of the great events that happens every year, and this year, February 14th through the 17th, and that's actually held for us at Sunrise Boulevard and Greenback Lane. We'd obviously love everyone to come out and help support that. And the actual, the Chiefs Challenge is the Saturday, February 15th, and that'll be from a short period of from 9 to 10 in the morning, where the fire chief goes out and he competes with the other fire chiefs in the region, and traditionally does pretty well. And we're going to continue to do that this year. We'd like to congratulate in retirement, effective at the end of December this last year, Engineer Mark Gossett. He had 24 years of service. Captain Kevin Schneider, who all of you will know as our fire chaplain as well, and he'll continue in that capacity, but for 26 years of service. Engineer Ryan Lowry, 30 years of service. A great mechanic, Don Hockelberg, 17 years of service. Captain Jim Johnson, 19 years of service. Engineer Rocky Marino, 25 years of service. Staffing Specialist Charlene Cockrum, who's going to be sorely missed, 13 years of service. And firefighter Dave Hubbard, 22 years of service. So tremendous experience going out the door. We say that a lot. We look at the contributions those individuals have made over the course of some 30 years, and it's truly going to be missed, and really a vacuum that we'll have to fulfill. No promotions at this point to report, so that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. President, members of the board, Christopher Holbrook. I am the Operations Chief for Metro Fire. I'm going to keep this very brief tonight, and I actually want a little bit of reflection on the difference between last year and this year. Last year, Metro Fire ran 84,187 calls for service. That is an unprecedented number, and up over 2,000 calls from the year prior. With that, I want to draw attention to something that's happening on the street today, and that is a transport rate of 75.2%, and there's something that goes along with that. You have a transport rate of 75.2%, you have an increase of 2,000 calls a year, and influenza-like symptoms last year at this time, we had serviced 80. This year, 140. So what you're left with is this perfect storm of things coming together: increased call volume, a higher number of transports to hospitals. Our wall times at the hospitals are almost 3 hours at a time, up to 3 hours at a time. So what you've come to is a decision point for this administration. Right now we're considering bringing on extra units. We've had a discussion with AMR tonight about having them surge, and our EMS group, all of the EMS chiefs within the County of Sacramento have gotten together and come up with a 4-point plan to increase availability of ambulance service within the region. So I'm not going to spend any more time on it, but I do want you to know that you'll hear us say that our folks are doing more with less. Our folks are running at a unit utilization that is probably borderline unhealthy. There's not a whole lot we can do other than surge for right now. These are long-term problems that are going to take long-term solutions. So not to alarm you at all, but I do want you to know that we are paying attention. So any questions?
Chief, I heard you use a phrase, wall time. Could you elaborate on what that means?
When an ambulance arrives at a hospital with a patient, the backlog of patients that are being pushed through the ER often results in what's called wall time, meaning that you literally will stand in the hall with a patient and wait to transfer that patient care to an ER. That, in an extremely bad day, is a 3-hour wait. In an extremely good day, 45 minutes. So it's just something that we live with. The Affordable Health Care Act, believe it or not, comes into play. More people are actually, we're experiencing more people being transported because now they have the coverage too. It's a variety of factors. There is no easy solution. So. Anything else?
And at that wall time rate, that ambulance is not available for additional 911 responses.
That's correct.
And we're not functioning in the role that we're really designed to function in, and that's first response.
That would be correct, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. General Counsel?
President Orzali, I don't have any report, but I would like to request that the board take a break before adjourning the meeting today so that I could give me a little bit of time to look at some of the issues that have been raised in this discussion. It might allow me the opportunity to provide some additional advice that might be useful for the board's consideration this evening.
Counsel, is that suggesting we do that now?
Either now or at any time before you adjourn. It doesn't have to happen right now, but just before you adjourn. If you want to finish the rest of the items on the agenda, that's fine.
Firefighters Local 522.
Hi, Bailey, Local 522. Well, first of all, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. There's a couple of things I have on that weren't covered that I'd like to present. First of all, on January 25th, the Pioneer Hook and Ladder Association is having a crab feed, and that's going to be at St. Parish Hall. You can contact Gabriella at the local hall. Also, I believe Captain Randy Wooten at Station 21 would have information on that.
Excuse me, is that St. John Vianney's?
No,
where is that?
I'm not sure on the location. I'd have to go back to my email that I just pulled up. It's at St. Mary's Parish Hall, though. I can get the information post this meeting, though, for you. Director Kelly, I'll get that for you before I leave here. On February 14th through the 17th, we're having our annual Fill the Boots for Burns for the Firefighter Burn Institute. It's going to be at Sunrise and Greenback, which is our annual destination. Last year, we had a higher rate of return. We had over $600,000 total raised and almost 45 total boot drives throughout the state. So look forward to seeing each of you out there. And on the 16th, for the retirees that are watching this, we're having a legacy event. Retiree who gets the most in the boot by 5:30 will receive a trophy. So I'm sure that Chuck Ingram will be there pushing for that one. Lastly, I'd like to bring up Chuck Ingram. No boot. For those of you who've never met Chuck, I'm sure all you have. Chuck Ingram was on our local board, 522, as a director, retired a year ago. And with our new modifications for our OPEB trust, for the Post-Employee Benefits Trust Committee, Chuck has volunteered to represent the retirees and be on that advisory board. And so I want to thank Chuck Ingram for stepping up and doing that for us, and we look forward to having him on the board. So thank you.
Yeah, and from the district, thank you very much. Chuck, good to see you again. And you always look younger and more healthy when people come back after a year, which is interesting. And also, for everyone's edification here, Chuck was very savvy on the financial side also of the union for a long time. So a great representation for the retirees, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Chief. Board, look forward to meeting and working with the district on this, supporting both sides.
Yeah, we weren't going to let you off that easy, Chuck. Just for the information, St. Mary's Parish Hall is 1333 58th Street, Sacramento, California.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I have to report out unless you have further questions. Thank you.
Further questions? No, that's great. Moving into committee and delegates reports. The Executive Committee met this evening, and in the course of that made 3 amendments to the committees, moving, and is it relevant for us to identify what those movements were?
Yeah, I think so. It'd be good for public.
All right, so we made the adjustment of moving Director Scheidegger from finance into policy, and to fill the place in the finance where we moved Director Wood into that, and in a second action relevant to Director Wood, formalized his placement on the 2x2 committee for Rancho Cordova. So there's no, at this point, the next executive committee meeting is not scheduled. And moving on to Communication Center JPA.
Good evening, Director. Scott Cochran, Deputy Chief, Support Services. We had our Communications Center meeting the end of December. We elected new officials for the board. I'm now the president of the board. Lloyd Ogan is the vice chair he's Deputy Chief of Sacramento Fire. I continue to be the chairperson of the Personnel Committee, and Ron Phillips from City of Sacramento continues to be the chairperson of the Finance Committee. We're having a special board meeting on the 21st of January to sit and discuss the JPA's, basically our agreement, our MOU agreement with all the different agencies. We have all the councils involved, council lawyers involved with that, basically to clean up some language, look at some of the voting rights, and look at the JPA in its totality. So we'll have at the end, anything that's agreed on has to go before the boards, so your board, you as the board, the City of Sacramento board, et cetera, to be voted and agreed upon. So things continue to be going well at the Communications Center. We're still working on the CAD project. We have completely removed ourselves from the finance of the Sacramento County, so all the finances are being done in-house now within them. So is there any questions I can answer? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Moving on to item 3, the California Fire and Rescue Training JPA. Director Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, Board, the JPA met a few weeks ago, and many things were discussed, chiefly the amount of work that's been completed and to be done out at the training facility. And then I think there was a more timely, or there was a request for more timely presentation of documents prior to meetings so that they could be reviewed and so forth. And that was about the extent of it. The next meeting has not been determined as to when we will meet.
Thank you. The Finance Committee, Director Scheidegger.
Mr. President, members, thank you. The Finance and Audit Committee met this evening. As you already heard, our audit was clean, which is a real credit to our staff. Our fiscal house is in order, and I think the public needs to know that very clearly. Once again, I want to mention that our finance staff has completed all of the internal controls, and that's a long-term legacy that's great. There is one issue, and that is $185 million in unfunded liability in retirement that we're going to need to start dealing with the beginning of next fiscal year. We also got a good report on the status of our finance. Our reserves are basically where they should be at this time, where they were last year. We're ahead in revenue without receipt of property taxes, basically, so far, and our expenditures are on target. Our next meeting will be on February 13th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Director Pearson.
Yeah, we have a meeting scheduled for next board meeting on the 23rd, where we'll start to review the policies for the board itself. And that will probably take a few meetings to get all that through.
Okay, thank you. Board members' questions and comments, and we'll go ahead and go through this, and then when that's done, we will take the break that council had suggested. So, with that, Director Monk.
Just real quick, I wanted to, again, extend my thanks to Richardson and Company for their fine work on the audit report, and to Rhonda McFarling and her group for all the work that they worked with Richardson and Company in preparing that. And I've already said it, but the chief and the administration for all the work that they've done in keeping our financial house in order and making recommendations and changes where necessary to keep us online, including working on the GMET, the cost reduction, which was down 4.3%, working on the user fees and the OPEB pre-funding. Changing the OPEB to pre-funding saved us, or it's down $92 million because of that. So without everybody's work and working together, we'd be in a whole different situation. So I appreciate everybody's work and assistance on that. And finally, the flu season is here upon us. If you haven't got your flu shot, please do so. The H1N1 is really ugly this year, and it's affecting a lot of people. If you don't know where to get one, you can go to any one of the pharmacies or drugstores and ask. And please get that, because the community depends on it. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Director Wood.
Be a broken record, but again, the clean audit report being completely up to date and current on all the recommendations is an outstanding achievement by our financial department, Ms. McFarland and Ken Campo and everyone else that you work with. Congratulations definitely need to be said on that. The one thing that the audit did point out that I think we say a lot, but I don't think you can beat the drum loud enough, and I think the public should be aware of it. We received last year $10.8 million in grant money, which is about 6.7% of our budget, if my math is correct. And that's 6.7% of our budget that is essentially free money, all because of the work that Larry Davis and his staff do, and that's something that needs to be commended. And just, again, it's phenomenal that what we can deliver because of the work that they do. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Scheidegger.
Real quickly, I want to acknowledge Chief Daniels and his staff for the fine work they did. We didn't get where we perhaps wanted to get tonight with this program, but that does not in any way indicate any sort of failure on his part. I think that we are at a point where we're going to be able to move ahead with a program that, as Director Gould said earlier, is critical to this community, protection of the public. And I really appreciate the fine work they've done, and I'm confident we're going to move ahead with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to thank the individuals who came and offered public comment tonight. Oftentimes, that's not an easy thing to do, and to take time out of their evening to come share with us. It helps us remember some of the feelings and ideas and directions that are happening in the public. I, would like to see more of it. It helps us be informed of some of the impacts that some of our programs have. And so I want to thank them publicly. The other thing is, I want to congratulate all the retirees that were listed tonight and thank them for their years of service in the community, and particularly from a very personal perspective, thank our chaplain. I cannot tell you the impact he has in our community. I just simply can't share. Words don't describe what those chaplains do when they walk into homes or alongside the roadway when there's been a tragedy of unspeakable terms. And what those men and women do, it is really priceless. And just from a very personal standpoint, I want to thank Kevin and his wife for the hours they spent with my family. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Pearson.
Yeah. Ditto basically to what Director Gould said. With the 3 people coming, that really does help to have. And I would encourage more people to come out and speak to us. We don't get enough of that. We don't get enough feedback, and it really does kind of help us, keeps us honest. And also I wanted to thank Chief Daniels and his staff for all the hard work that they did in putting together that important program, and I look forward to moving it forward. And again, I think it points out to the people that work at Metro and the attitude that they have. Never did he flinch, never did he, I didn't even see a sigh when we told him that we were going to dump more work on him. It wasn't like, oh, here we go again. He didn't roll his eyes. He just said, okay, do it and give me more. And I see that time and time again. We heard that we're up 2,000 calls. We haven't added any engine companies. We haven't done anything. Our guys are out and gals are out there running more and more calls, and again, doing more with less. And it doesn't go unnoticed, and I appreciate all the hard work that they do. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Director Clark.
Yes, first of all, I wish everyone a Happy New Year. I would also like to thank, it's been said already, I want to thank Rhonda McFarland and the Finance Department for their excellent work. Also, thank the men and women out there who are doing this job. And I'll let you know, with this board, you have our full support. We know you have a tough job. It's not easy working with what we have to work with and the sacrifices we've made, and it's truly appreciated. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director Kelly.
All right. I wanted to tell Chief Daniels again, thank you for the report that he provided tonight. And I, too, thank the individuals that appeared before us this evening. Certainly there were issues with the way the previous program was conducted, rolled out. Not to cast blame anywhere on that, but to move forward, I think it's important that we change direction, and I think tonight we had a little hiccup doing that. I think it's important to recognize that the clean audit, the good financial position that the district is in currently, and when I say good, we're barely good. But what I would like to say is thank you to the men and women of this district, the employees that had gave up pay increases, gave up hard money that was in their pockets, whether they be line staff or support staff. The district was in a terrible place, and those people, they came to the rescue more or less. They met not a challenge, but they met the call. They knew the district needed certain things, and they were willing to give it. And I think without that relationship, there are many small or special districts in the state of California that are in really dire straits because they don't have that relationship with their workforce. And as a director, I'm thankful that we do have it, because we're able to sit up here with a good audit, with a budget that is going to work for us this evening. So again, I thank the men and women of this district that gave up money and able to make sure that this district was financially stable.
Director Jones.
Thank you. I concur with all the comments and like to underline the words of my fellow directors in terms of kudos to our finance division for leadership, Richardson and Company for the audit work, for all of the above, the retirees, the grants program, Administrator Mr. Davis, for all of our employees who everyone has pitched in, whether it's Chief Daniels and the work to improve our fire prevention program or our community risk reduction plan, to the folks that jump on the trucks and engines and ambulances to help keep us financially moving forward. I appreciate that. And one final note on a lighter tone is that On behalf of Metro Fire District, of Metro Fire, we awarded 2 plaques, a resolution and a plaque, to retiring Rancho Cordova City Manager Ted Gabler this Monday. It was a very well-attended event. Folks from throughout our area were present to give him kudos and accolades. Metro Fire was one of them, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to represent the district in that fun event. So, thank you.
Thank you. And seeing that there is no closed session items this evening, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Will that be sufficient?
Yes, Director Orzali, that will.
Okay. So we'll take a 10-minute break and then reconvene.
You know what, that's awesome, good for you. Hey, Jack, start again. We're going to start again.
Good, thank you. Pull me in.
Just bring you up to speed. Don't want to leave you out anything. I'd hate to see you like that.
That even right, because you'll have knowledge.
So in the discussions a few moments ago, there was a suggestion made with regard to action item 1, the fire inspection program and fees, that we continue this meeting until Thursday of next week at the same time back here, so that this meeting isn't closed. It is simply continued until that time. Legal counsel felt that there was some administrative advantages to us in doing that as opposed to calling a special meeting. So, thoughts?
Good idea. Excellent idea. One, it saves us taxpayer dollars as well. Great idea. Support it 100%.
So with that, we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I so move that we continue this present meeting a week from today to reconvene at 6 p.m. in this location.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Directors Monk. Wood. Scheidegger. Gould.
Aye.
Pearson.
Aye.
Clark. Kelly.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we'll meet
See you
back
on
here on
Thursday.
Thursday.